Hey folks, welcome. How's it going? We've made it. We are here at the last live stream of the semester. As I said in the email that I sent out to you guys, we're going to have a final review next week over Zoom. And then I'm going to ask for your feedback in the Zoom meeting after that. I get so fixated when I get stuff on my glasses, and now that I'm looking at the camera and I have the light on me, everything shows up. But that's all right. We're good. So yeah, we get to wrap things up today with talking about one of the most interesting ways that capitalism affects our economy. And to do that, I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell two stories, in fact. Okay. See this chart here? This is back in the year 2000, before and after. This is the Intel stock price. Intel Corporation, Intel inside, the chips that are inside your computers and so forth, although it's not necessarily Intel anymore. We'll talk more about that later. Anyway, so this is the Intel stock price. And you would think that that red line represented the very peak of Intel stock price. Because, well, golly gee willikers, everything before is going up and everything after is going down. No, that's not what the red line represents. The red line represents the day I was hired. So I was recruited by Intel back in, 2000, right? And I was hired on and I was given a stock package and they, of course, there'd be more shares coming, so on and so forth. And I thought I had won the lottery because, remember, I didn't know about things after the red line. That was in the future. I only knew about everything before the red line. All right, so I'm hired with Intel, and I go ahead and I do the math. I look at how many stock options I'd been given as part of my new hire package, and I look at how many stocks they give each year and so on and so forth. And I figured that if the stock price continued to go up and continued to double, double the shares, I won't go into detail, but if everything continued to go forward for the next 20 years as it had for the previous 20 years or whatever, I'd be rich and retiring at the age 55. And I don't mean just retire as in I can afford to retire. It's I would be a millionaire at the age 55. I'd retire, I'd be done. Well, for those of you playing at home, I'm older than 55. As you can see, the stock did not continue to go up. In fact, the stock plummeted something ferocious. Okay, so that's my first story. Here's my second story in all of this. This is housing prices back in, let's see if I got out of the way, but I don't think I have this set up such that I can get out of the way. Nope. The stock price, this first line, is around the end of 2008. And of course, this line is around the end of 2009. Okay. So this was the housing bubble. That's what we're talking about today, is bubbles. The previous slide is what we called the dot-com bubble. This is the housing bubble. You probably don't remember the housing bubble, but trust me, your parents do, something fierce. What are these two red lines? Well, the first red line is when my father made the decision and so sold his bed and breakfast in Telluride, Colorado. My father used to own and run a bed and breakfast in Telluride, Colorado. It's a ski town in Colorado. Rich ski town. And he decided, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. He says, I want to just go ahead and cash out. And he wanted to build a huge sort of luxury home because, well, look at the housing prices, everything going up there. He figured, you know what, I'm going to sell my inn, and he sold it for about $1.5 million or so. And I'm going to build a home up in the mountains and sell it and make mint. So he sold the inn, and then he borrowed about $700,000, and he spent $2 million building this home up in the mountains of Telluride. Well, the first red line is when he started building. The second red line is when he was done building and could put the house up for sale. Well, you can see for yourself, things did not pan out well for him. By the time he finished the home and could put it on the market, he could not sell it at a loss. He could not sell it at a loss. And he basically hung on to it for 3-4 years, paying property taxes on a $4 million home each and every year, until finally he sold it at a significant loss. Not as, he sold it for what he could sell it for, and ended up spending the rest of his life paying the bank and the creditors for the loan he had taken out to build the home. Okay, so all of these things are what we refer to as economic bubbles. And here's the thing, don't make the mistake of thinking these are, there we go. Yeah, I'm back. Don't make the mistake of thinking that these are outlier events. We are always in an economic bubble somewhere. Now, whether the economic bubble is severe or affects you directly, that's different. But you're always in an economic bubble somewhere. And so what we're going to talk about today is basically what brings about an economic bubble, and how do we recognize them? Because here's the thing. It's really easy to recognize an economic bubble after the fact, but really, really, really hard to gauge before the fact. All right? So now, to describe economic bubbles, the course has you do this reading on tulips and so forth. It's a famous case study and all that, but since when does something that happened in the 1600s interest us, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to take you through yet another economic bubble that I went through, my wife and I went through, and that is comic books, okay? So I went through the dot-com economic bubble. We all lost a lot of money there. My father went through the housing economic bubble, and I went through the comic book economic bubble, lost a lot of money there. I'm going to take you through that. And in so doing, we'll be able to figure out what bubbles are out there right now. And trust me, there's a whole bunch that you will recognize right off the bat. Okay? So with that, let's play with this. Ingredients of an economic bubble. All right. The first thing that really attracts economic bubbles. Yeah, the AI bubble. We are going to talk about the AI bubble. Absolutely, Raphael. I promise. The first thing that brings about an economic bubble is the product tends to be a status symbol. Okay? So, in the .com days, owning .com stock was a status symbol. There's a lot of stock out there. I'm thinking of one company in particular that if you own that stock, it's a status symbol around AI, as Raphael points out. Owning a home or owning 2 homes or owning 3 homes is a status symbol. And yes, that is it, Raphael. I was thinking of NVIDIA. We're going to talk about NVIDIA. And in the case of comic books, well, let me show you. I have right here, and we'll come up here. This is the first appearance of the black suit for Spider-Man. Now, in the comic book community, this is a pretty darn cool comic book. Now, you guys don't care, but you're not in the comic book community, all right? So this would be considered something of a status symbol in the comic book community. So everything has a status symbol community. So, for example, sneakers recently went through a bubble, and the bubble burst a little bit. But wearing the right kind of shoes, wearing the right kind of Nikes, this is a status symbol. Supreme, the clothing line, has kind of dropped off because there was a time that wearing Supreme was a status symbol. So these products that are particularly susceptible to bubbles tend to be status symbols. Okay, so that's the first thing. Next thing, rarity. Okay, rarity is relatively important when it comes to an economic bubble. In the case of the Nike sneakers, they only make so many. It's a limited run, right? In the case of homes, there are only so many homes out there. In the case of stock, company stock, there are only so many shares. And in the case of, say, like these old comic books, there are only so many of them left, all right? Because here's the thing. Back when they made these comic books, let's take this one, for example. This one is The Amazing Spider-Man number 41. I forget when it was printed, but it's an old comic book. Comic books were considered really, really, really low-brow literature. They were made for kids. They were made to be bought for 12 cents. That's the price on this one. And then folded up. This one is folded right down the middle. Folded up, put in your back pocket, taken to your tree fort with your friends, read, passed around, traded, and then thrown away. They were printed on really, really, really crappy newspaper stock because they weren't meant to last more than a month or two, because the kid is going to throw them away, or they're going to get torn up or used as birdcage lining, things like that. So when it comes to these unique comic books, they're very rare because there's not many of them out there. Not many of them were printed, and not many of them survived. And so in the case of, as we say, stock or cryptocurrency, there's rarity involved in these things. There's only so many out there. Okay, let's keep going. So then we got low supply, high demand. Okay, so this is the case in everything, right? but in the case of a bubble, there's a point at which demand just skyrockets. It becomes a status symbol. It is rare, and so people want it because they want to flaunt their status. Yes, by the way, all of this does apply to the old Pokemon cards. Yes, we dabbled in cards. We don't have many, but we dabbled in them, my wife and I. We did mostly comic books and action figures. So when something becomes a status symbol, people want it because people want to show off their status. We talked about that last week. And so this means that demand goes up. But remember, supply is really low. I mean, they're not making this anymore. And so the value of this goes up. I don't know how much. Somebody might Google it out there. Google Amazing Spider-Man 41 and do fair condition. Amazing Spider-Man 41 fair condition. Original price was 12 cents. I paid probably 10 or 15 bucks for this maybe. So as demand goes up, prices go up. And so this, once again, we're building a bubble here. The bubble's just getting a little bit larger and larger. Some are even more valuable than my car. It's true. It's true, the Pokemon cards. Okay, so let's keep going. The next ingredient in a bubble is what's called low buy-in, which means any schmuck can buy in. Any schmuck can participate. So let's say, for example, that we're talking about, Bitcoin, okay? Well, Bitcoin is $60,000 today. I can't buy a Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a Bitcoin. You can buy 0.0001% of a Bitcoin, and you can buy it really easily over apps like, I think probably Robinhood does Bitcoin and so forth. I don't know, but crypto.com and all these other exchanges and so forth. You download the app and you just buy it, and you can buy as low as you want. So it is a very, very low buy-in. In the case of this comic book, let's see, apparently it goes for $30 to $6,000. Okay, this is on eBay, by the way. Do not count eBay as a reliable source because people, they think their comic book is worth a lot. My guess is that I could probably get about 150 to 250 for this, probably closer to 150 for this would be my guess. But low buy-in. Now, in the case of these comic books and so forth, you don't need to go off and buy, the really, really high-end comic books. You can get a pretty darn cool comic book for $10. I mean, something that's really unique and rare. I have some really old, supremely beat up comic books that I bought for $5, $10 that are just really, really cool things, right? And so this brings up, let's see, a website called Go Collect said that there is 2 on sale, 9.6 condition. Mine is not 9.6, so there's no way I'm getting $15K for it. Nevertheless, we'll go ahead and do him today. Don't know what a Deadpool #1 would go through. I bet it'd be expensive these days. Okay, let's keep going. So we're building our bubble here. Speculation. We are now firmly ensconced in bubble territory. Everything else is fine. Okay, it's building a bubble. But once we go into speculation, um, there's no going back. All right. Speculation is this. As Aristotle says, when you buy something, you buy it with the intent of using it. So if you buy a home and live in it, you're using it. You're not speculating. And, so when you buy some shoes and you wear them, you're not speculating, you're using them. Speculation is when you buy something with no intent of using it. You are simply buying it to resell it. Your goal is to one day resell it. Now, in the case of a stock, that's exactly the purpose of a share. You don't use a share. You're just hoping it goes up and then you resell it. So every single share, stock, mutual fund, what have you, that is all a speculative market. Okay, that's fine. But now let's talk about, say, a comic book, right? Let's pull out a different example here. I'll go ahead and pull out Vampirella. This is a Vampirella #1, first appearance of Vampirella, published by Warren. When you buy this, you're waiting for it to go up in price so that you can resell it in theory, all right? Which means we follow what in economics, and I'm not making this up, this is a true phrase. In economics, we call this the greater fool theory. The idea is that I will buy it at a certain price, but I am waiting to find somebody who is willing to pay more for it. In other words, the greater fool. And that greater fool buys it with the hope that they can then turn around and find still a greater fool. This is speculation. You just buy it with the intent of reselling at a higher price. So when my father built that house, he built it on what's called, you build it on spec. Spec is short for speculation. Build on spec means you're not building a house to live in it. You're building it to hopefully sell it for more than you paid to build it. That's building on spec. So when my father lost his shirt on that was, the bubble bursting out from under him. We do this with, say, cryptocurrency. You can't use crypto unless you're on the dark web. If you're on the dark web trying to, buy drugs or whatever and so on and so forth, sure, you can use crypto. But at 99.999% of legitimate businesses, you cannot use crypto. So when we buy crypto, we're buying it on spec. So this is when we're waiting to find a greater fool. Raphael, there's 1 of 4 conditions for, mine's better than 4. So I guess mine's worth some money there. Okay. I think the Vampirella #1 is probably worth more than that Spider-Man. That's my guess. Okay, so speculation is when everybody is buying with the intent of reselling. This is the arbitrage market with sneakers. This is what it was with comic books. Where they say, the action figure, don't take it out of the box. You want it mint in the box. That's because when you resell it, so you're not buying the action figure to play with it. You're buying the action figure to resell it. That's on speculation. Yeah, it's a wide range on all that, huh, Raphael? Okay, continuing on. Stockpiling. All right. So stockpiling is now, as I said with speculation, there's no turning back when it comes to a bubble. Stockpiling is this. If I can buy one and resell it for more money, I should buy 100 and then sell them for more money. And so what happens with stockpiling is everybody buys up all of this whatever and then holds on to it. And so what this does is it removes these items from the market. So things look more rare, more scarce than they really are, okay? So I have a basement, and if you watched the video on comic book and so forth that I have there on Canvas, I have a basement full of big, huge boxes full of comic books because we would buy and stockpile. And so when everybody's buying and stockpiling, the prices go up because everybody's buying and it's scarce. And then when they stockpile, it looks more scarce than it really is. It looks like there are none of these on the market. No, there's plenty of them. They're not being offered right now. But when they are offered, the market will crash because all of a sudden, all these people who have been stockpiling all of these things for years are going to offer them for sale all at once, and scarcity will disappear. So I'll give you an example. This is a very, very, very limited Wildcats #1. Wildcats #1, gold cover, embossed, signed by the creator, Jim Lee. Okay, and Jim Lee is now the CEO of DC Comics. Okay, I think he's the CEO. He's the head of DC Comics. Whether the title is exactly CEO, I don't know, but he's over DC Comics. So Wildcats #1, gold cover, embossed, signed by Jim Lee. I have 3 of these things, okay? Because the idea was, oh my gosh, one day this thing is going to be worth so much. And I think at the height of the comic book bubble, this was going for about $300. Today it's going for about $30. I could get $30 for this, but I spent $7 on it. I paid $7 for this. I suspect I could get $30. I don't know. But that's an example of stockpiling. I have 3 of these. So they look more rare than they really are. Okay, next, futures. Okay, futures are an interesting thing. Futures are basically saying, oh, yeah, by the look of it, that's about right. Okay, good deal. Good deal. So, yeah, around $30. Not bad. Well, wrong button. Wrong button. There we go. Let's do this button. Okay. Futures are where you're saying, you know what? I will pay a certain price today for stuff that will come in the future. Okay? This is actually what killed the Chinese, many things killed the Chinese real estate market, but one of them was futures. But in any case, so what happens with futures is not only does the supply that's in place today go up in price, but the future supply goes up in price because it becomes more and more rare as people buy the futures. And yeah, we would buy on futures with the comic books. We'd say, hey, of all the #1s that you have coming out from this publisher in 3 months, I want 10 of those #1s. And I will pay you today for those 10, right? And so you can see that then when the market goes out, that people, let's say you buy a home on futures. Then when the market falls out from underneath you, you owe more on the home than it's worth, and you haven't even taken possession of it yet. So this becomes a problem. No regulation. This has been the case with crypto. This is the case with many aspects of AI, but especially crypto. So no regulation around this. And then finally, the bubble bursts. There becomes a massive, massive rush to sell because people start to look around and go, the price is kind of coming down a little bit. I wonder if I should sell. And so a few people sell, and then it comes down, and a few more people go, ooh, this is a lot, and they sell. And then there's a run on the bank. There's a panic, and everybody is selling. And pretty soon, they're worthless. I mean, supremely worthless. Julian, I believe the airlines use a lot of futures for, yes, airlines absolutely buy fuel on futures. So the airline will say, hey, listen, I'll pay you, X dollars a ton for fuel for the next year, and I'll agree to that price right now. And the oil company has to say, okay, what do we think are the odds of the price of oil falling or going up? And if they think there's a greater chance of the price of oil dropping, they'll happily sell on a future. If they think the price of oil is going to go up, they might say, oh, we need to negotiate. So you're right. Airlines, futures, and fuel, that's how they stay in business in many ways. Raphael, you bring up NFTs. Yes. NFTs were like the new big thing and so forth. And then all of a sudden, they're just falling into the market and everybody's selling and so forth. And NFTs, I guess they're still around, but I mean, I know they're still around, but they were such a flash in the pan. Yes. So these are the things that create economic bubbles. So where do you guys see bubbles? We've talked about AI. Go ahead and Google NVIDIA stock. Look at what has happened with NVIDIA stock. I want to be clear about something with a bubble. A bubble doesn't mean the product is worthless, okay? I've told you about .com bubbles. The internet is still around. I told you about the housing bubbles. Homes are still around. I told you about comic book bubble. Comic books are still around and doing better than ever, okay? So when I say that AI and crypto are bubbles, that's not saying that AI and crypto are worthless. It's saying we don't know where the value is, and everybody is experiencing FOMO and trying to buy in as much as they can. Raphael, when it comes to NFTs, says they're still around. Companies don't call them NFTs anymore because of the bad reputation. That doesn't surprise me. There's a bubble going on out there, but we don't know what to make of it with virtual reality and augmented reality. So Meta, with Facebook, but they changed the name to Meta to really show that they're all in on the metaverse. But that's had a hard time getting started. Apple came out with the Apple goggles. I don't know what they call them. I forget the name of Apple's goggles. And they made a huge splash for the first 10 days or month or so. But now it's kind of subsided a little bit. Apple made 30,000 pairs of these goggles. And they said, I don't think we're going to sell them all by the end of the summer, is the latest that I saw. So people don't quite know what to make of the metaverse bubble. So that's one of the things about a bubble. It's super easy to see in arrears, right, behind us, but it's not so easy to gauge when you're in the height of it. You're not quite sure, is this as high as it's going to go? Should I sell? What have you? Okay, so those are economic bubbles. All right. So, by the way, today's going to be short. I should have told you today is going to be short because we are going to do one more thing. Here's what we're going to do. All right. The other reading, oh, by the way, Raphael said, did you know that IKEA is hiring employees to work at a store in Roblox? Oh, no, I did not. That's interesting. That is really an interesting use of virtual reality. I did not know that. And getting paid real money. Yeah, very good. That's fascinating. I'm going to have to look into that. That's interesting. Okay. Last thing. We have romancing of a busy broker. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the Cliff Note version. All right. I'm going to give you the Cliff Note version. And then if you want, if you want, you can take off. We're done after the Cliff Note version. However, if you stick around, I'm going to tell you that this stuff is real. And I'm going to tell you how to avoid it. So it's going to be a little bit of a lawn rant. All right. But I think it's a valuable lawn rant. So I'll explain more when we get to it. So let me go ahead and first tell you about romance of a busy broker. Certain child labor laws. They would still have to verify, Julian, that you are who you are. So there's got to be some sort of verification thing. So they're probably still hiring you on with a social security number and all that sort of stuff. But that's a fair question. Fair question. Okay. Romance of a busy broker. Here's the thing with the story. It's a cute little story, whatever, written by O. Henry. He's a famous essayist and so forth. It kind of has an M. Night Shyamalan ending. And if I'm honest, it could look like the M. Night Shyamalan ending is a little hokey. And it is a little hokey. But I'm going to tell you it's not as hokey as you might think. All right? So, here's the story. I forget the names of the people, so I'm just going to say, broker and the assistant and the stenographer, secretary. Okay, so there's this broker, right? And as the titular broker suggests, he's a busy broker. He's really busy, and he comes on into work, and he's busy. And he's there before anybody else because he's a busy broker. And his assistant comes in and gets the work and so forth. And the assistant says, hey, by the way, those interviews for the replacement stenographer, I've called the employment temp agency, and they're going to send over some gals. It's an old story, so bear with me. They're going to send over some gals for us to interview here this afternoon. So just so you know. And the broker's like, okay, whatever. And he gets back to work. And as he's working, answering phones, and doing all this sort of stuff, he's like, oh, I don't understand why we're dealing with this today. And at that stage, his stenographer walks in. I forget her name. If you can pull it up, you can tell me. But she walks in and she gives the broker a smile and says good morning and kind of winks and walks back to her office. And as the broker is working, he's like, you know what? I really like our stenographer. I don't understand why we're replacing her. And he's working some more. And this fixates in his mind. Why are we replacing her? I like her. I like her a lot, in fact. She's really good. And if I'm honest, I sort of like her. And so he calls the assistant back in and says, you know what? I don't understand why we're replacing her. Call the employment agency and cancel those interviews. And the assistant's like, are you serious? He says, yes, I'm serious. Of course I'm serious. We're fine. We don't need another stenographer. Cancel it. And so he's kind of like, okay, and goes back to his office and all that. And he's fuming. He's saying, I don't know, I really like her. And he starts to realize, I think I super duper like her. So he has a spare moment. He walks back and says, listen, I know I haven't had time to court you properly and so forth, because time is money. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting waiting here in just a moment on the phone, so I got to be quick. I was wondering if you could see your way to marrying me. Would you marry me? Now, I know this is coming out of left field and we really ought to talk more, but the fact of the matter is I've got 2 phone calls coming in right now. I need to get over to my desk. Can you tell me right now, lickety-split, will you marry me? And the gal pauses, lowers her head, kind of says, kind of figured something like this would happen. You and I were married last night at the church on the corner. We're already married. Oh, wow, mind-blowing, I know it's over there. I haven't moved it yet. M. Night Shyamalan ending. Okay, so right now, you have everything you need for the quiz on this module when it comes to the Busy Broker. You have everything you need. So if you want to drop off, you are perfectly welcome to drop off. However, let's come on over here. If you stick around, I'm going to tell you why this story is grounded in more truth than you might think. And as this is the ending of our live stream going forward, in a course where we have talked about capitalism and how capitalism came about, Western business, and so forth, and what Western business has resulted in terms of, which, by the way, I'm a fan of, but it's resulted in the consumer economy, bubbles, and so on and so forth, right? If you're not careful, the system will gobble you up and spit you out. And so I am going to take the ending of this live stream and the ending of this course to share with you 8 tools that the system uses to control and overwork you. Okay? A lot of this is grounded in what we've discussed throughout the semester, but let me assure you that all of this is also grounded in personal experience from myself, as well as countless of my friends and family, because I've been on this earth for well over half a century, and I've seen this play out time after time after time after time. So, with that, here are the 8 tools. Like I say, the first one you know about, the profit motive. I want you to really take a moment and think about what the profit motive says. It says, you are not satisfied with your current state. Therefore, you need to work harder, faster, smarter, more efficiently to increase your material lot, to increase your opportunities, to increase your financial security, to increase your opportunities for leisure, so on and so forth. Okay. The profit motive is a strong driver in my life. However, you need to be really, really clear on the idea that it's telling you that you are perpetually dissatisfied with your current state. And you always want more. So now, how does a company use this? Now, I want to make clear, I'm talking about working for a corporation. I worked for what was the largest corporation in the semiconductor industry for many, many, many years. How does a corporation leverage this? They dangle things in front of you. They will dangle a promotion. They will dangle a work opportunity. They will dangle a pay increase. They will dangle all kinds of things in front of you to say, if you keep going, you'll get this. If you keep working, you'll get this. And sometimes it delivers and sometimes it doesn't. But it is always feeding your anxiety that what you have right now, your job title, it's not good enough. Your level in the organization, it's not where you want to be. They are always teasing you with opportunities to get more, to exploit the profit motive. So just be aware when you start to see things like this. Next one, another thing that we talked about in class is the Protestant work ethic, okay? As you know, busy and productive is perceived as virtuous, whereas sitting around on your hands is considered lazy and a waste of time and a waste of space. Now, once again, speaking as somebody who is addicted to productivity, this one keeps me moving forward. And I have lately really worked hard to train myself to be more lazy. I'm not just trying to be cute. This is something I'm actually working on. It's a goal of mine to be more lazy because I feel like I have been a slave to the clock, a slave to the calendar, a slave to my goals, and a slave to the objectives that the companies and so on and others set. So while I'm a big fan of productivity, this is a problem. Now, how do companies leverage this to work against you? Well, you, of course, don't want to be late to work, and you sure as hell don't want to leave work early, and you don't want to say no when they ask you to work late or to work on a weekend or work on the holiday. They really kind of communicate to you that they more or less expect you to be on call at work 24/7. Now, this is such a problem that in some countries, I forget which country. Maybe you can Google this. In some countries, they have made it illegal for a boss to contact an employee after hours. And some companies in Silicon Valley, as a matter of fact, the state of California is actually thinking about passing a law right now, making it illegal for bosses to contact employees after hours. Google that, see what the details are. Because I'm telling you, when you work for a corporation, they're always texting, they're always calling, you're always on email. This is why they will give you a laptop, because they expect you to take it home and work from home. Australia. Okay. Australia is the company, and I know that California is looking at it. 6-day work weeks in Greece they're looking at. Some places, the Scandinavian countries are experimenting with 32-hour work weeks. So instead of 40 hours, they're saying 30 hours or 32. Germany going to the 4-day work week. Yes, they're looking at the 4-day option there. So this is pushing back against this, but please believe me when I say companies expect this. I'll give you an example. This is summer right now, okay? Now, I am working during the summer. I'm teaching a class in the summer, but it's kind of understood at Salt Lake Community College and other, teaching institutions and so forth that summer is a time off. And so we don't do office work or committee work and so on and so forth during the summer. Well, my boss, whom I support, she sent out an email the other day saying, hey, guys, be sure that you understand this is going on. I don't mean to interrupt your summer. And one of the guys responded back. He's on vacation in Greece, but he responded back. And she goes, oh, I didn't mean to interrupt your vacation and so forth. This is really, really, really normal. And in fact, Slick does it far less than the corporations I've worked for. So this is not a slam against my boss because she does this very, very, very little. And my guess is that after she got the email from the guy in Greece, she's probably thinking, I should have probably held off on that. Okay. So you see my point there. Let's see. Mary says, if you get full-time benefits of 32 hours, we should just work 32 hours. I agree. No worries. She's not watching. Who knows, right? Yeah, Australia, they're so serious. They're saying the boss could go to jail. They're really serious about this. Okay. So my point is, folks, I'm not making this shite up, this Malte. If I speak German and French, maybe I don't get in trouble. This is real. Companies use this to control and guilt you into overworking. Okay. All right. Next one. We want to have it all. All right. From early on, you are taught, and by the way, I'm the generation that taught this to you. So we were our hearts were in the right place. Our hearts were in the right place. Amazon is really good at it. Yes. You were taught that you can be anything you want. You can have it all. You can do it all. Guys, you can go to work, you can get a college degree, you can start your own business, and you can travel the world, you can do all this. Gals, you can become a CEO with a PhD and raise 7 children and be a part of the PTA and the soccer team. You can do it all. Guys and gals, you can't do it all, and you can't have it all. But that is not what we have taught you. That is not what social media teaches you. That is not what progressive society, which I'm part of, has taught you, because I told you I taught you all this. We want to have it all. And so we work our asses off to try to get that one more thing, right? To get that. And we just think if we work harder, faster, and more efficiently and longer and so on and so forth, and if we burn the candles at both ends and stay up late and get up early, we can do all this. You can't. Companies exploit this, right? They know that you want the position, you want the raise, you want the job title, you want the assignment overseas or something like that. They know you want to work with so-and-so and that you want to have everything. And so they just say, show us that you're worth it. All right. Raphael says, yeah, I want it all. Yeah, sure. Who doesn't want it all, right? Okay, next one. Fear of missing out, FOMO. All right. We are trained to look for opportunity everywhere. And we're also trained that you shouldn't pass up an opportunity. And so what happens is in the workplace, you really have a hard time saying no to opportunity. And we're going to talk about saying no separately. But we chase every single opportunity. If you start a business, you chase every single opportunity. So you take my business, Nutshell Brainery, for example. Right now, I'm just focusing on videos and only in like 2 channels. There was a point in Nutshell Brainery history not too long ago, like last year, where I had 4 channels and 2 podcasts and a website and a store and all of these things, because look at all these things I could do. I could do it all, and I don't want to close myself off to an opportunity. Well, guess what? As a one-person shop, right? Let's come back up here. As a one-person shop, I want to have it all. I want to have the podcasts. I want to have the channels. I want to have the store. I want to have all this stuff. And I'm afraid of missing out if I don't have these things. But as a one-person shop, I can't do that. So I had to cut back. Next one. The irony of wealth. Here's something that you may not think about all that much. The more you own, the more expensive it becomes to live. Okay? So let's just take a car, for example. Just a car. Think about your car and think about how much money you spend each year maintaining the car. There's gas, of course, but I'm not talking about gas. I'm talking about the registration fees, and I'm talking about maintenance and tires and when it breaks down and windshield and all that sort of stuff. Okay, but you need the car. So there is an expense associated with the car. So now, good news, you got 2 cars. I'm going to give you a car. Congratulations, you have 2 cars. Not good. Insurance. I have now doubled your insurance. So now, a moment ago, it was like, good news, you've got 2 cars. But now it's like, okay, I've doubled your insurance. I've doubled your maintenance fees. I've doubled your registration. I can't afford doubling that right now. So I'll give you an example. I inherited my father's truck. My father passed away a year ago. I've got his truck. I can't drive his truck. It's sitting out on the side of the house because I can't afford the insurance. If I drove the truck every single day, I'd find a way to afford the insurance. But if I only drive it once a month, it's not worth it. It's not worth the insurance. Therefore, adding to my wealth added to my expenses. I have a beautiful yard. It takes a lot of work and a lot of money to make it beautiful. I have a beautiful home. It takes a lot of work and a lot of money to make it beautiful. So as we think about all these things we want, we don't often think about the expenses that come with these things. You know the saying that the happiest 2 days of my life are the day I bought a boat and the day I sold the boat. Okay? Because on one hand, I'm rich, I want a boat. On the other hand, the boat is the biggest pain in the ass in the world, and it's expensive. But we want to have it all, and we want status, and we want riches, so we don't think about this. So when we get it, we have to work harder to keep it. I saw one turn down a Ferrari because of the maintenance. Yeah, actually, a Ferrari would be really expensive to maintain. Absolutely. Okay, we're getting there. I should have put this one past on the other side of FOMO. It's really hard to say no, especially to a boss. And companies know this. So when a boss asks you, can you stay late? Or can you work on the weekend? Or can I have you attend this meeting on Saturday? Or I know your plate is full, but can you do this other project as well? Companies will always, always, always ask more of you because it's not their job to track your time and energy and bandwidth. It's their job to get work done for as cheap as possible. So they will always turn to their current resources, you guys, to get the work done. And they make it hard for you to say no. Because if you say no to your boss, well, now you won't be considered for future opportunities. You might have come down lower on a promotion list. You're not seen as a team player. You're not seen as a good corporate citizen who sacrifices for the good of the company, and yada, 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 yada. You'll miss the opportunity for visibility. It goes on and on and on and on. So companies know that they can ask just about anything and make it hard for you to say no. This is another way that companies control and overwork you. Last two. First of all, being really, really, really busy at work is a great place to hide. What do I mean by that? Well, guys, I don't want to minimize or be cavalier, minimize any challenges in life that you have gone through or are going through. You've had challenges, you've had trials, you've had things that you've had to work through and are still working through. I don't want to minimize those. But I can promise you this. It gets a lot worse. You've got another 70 years in front of you. And trust me when I say that in those 70 years, stuff will go down that you have not even imagined in your first 20 years. And when that happens, work becomes a place to hide, especially when it happens in your personal life. Because check this out. At work, you know what your job is. You know what your roles and responsibilities are. You know what the expectations are. You have the competencies to do it. And you know where you fit in the pecking order. And you know what success looks like. Nice. At home, you do not know what your job is. Well, your job is a father. Good, great. Go ahead and explain to me what the job of father is. You do not know what the roles and responsibilities are. You do not know what success looks like. You don't have the support of those around you. I'm talking about when you're going through trials and so forth. And so family and personal life becomes really messy from time to time. And work is a place to hide from it. And they love it when that happens, right? There's nobody they love more than a 3-time divorced person who is not on speaking terms with their children because they live at work. Just saying. Okay, last one, guys. We like it. Everything I've just said, we like it. We love to brag about how busy we are. May not be the case for you yet. Maybe not. May not be the case for you yet. But trust me when I say there will be a day in your corporate career or in your entrepreneurial career where you will hear people bang on incessantly ad nauseum how busy they are and how tired they are and how behind they are and oh la 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 la. This is just the way that capitalism rewards its soldiers. Okay? It's this weird sort of self-perceived martyr syndrome that shows the world, look how important I am. Look how in demand I am. Look at how indispensable I am. I'm so indispensable that I'm busy, tired, and behind. Capitalism rewards this, and you're going to hear that stuff a lot. And I invite you to try to resist. Yeah, I would have sold the Ferrari just to get out of the garage. Isn't that the truth? Okay. So, folks, there you go. Here's my last thought for you. If you do not manage your time and energy in pursuit of your goals, others will manage it in interest in supporting their own goals. So the company you work for, they have their goals and objectives, and they want all of your time, effort, energy, and passion focused on their goals and objectives. And so if you don't have any goals and objectives of your own, or you don't know how to manage your time and your energy and your interests, then they'll take it all. So look out for the things that we just discussed, okay? Use your vacation time if you have it. Mary, that is so good. In fact, there was an interesting podcast series or podcast episode from NPR talking about how a lot of people don't take their vacation time because a good citizen, following the Protestant work ethic, not saying no to anything, doesn't take vacation. They stay and help the company. Take your vacation. Okay, everyone, that's it. Next week, we're going to meet over Zoom and we'll have a final review. And then the week after that, we will meet over Zoom and we'll do a feedback session. So thank you very much. I deeply appreciate it. It's been a good semester. You guys did phenomenally in terms of making all of this work and so forth. So thank you very much. Raphael, Mary, thank you. Jordan and Julian, you were out there. I appreciate it deeply. Everyone, have a great rest of your day, rest of the week, and we'll actually see you on Wednesday, on next week, on Tuesday, for our Zoom meeting, okay? Jordan, thank you. I really appreciate it. Raphael as well. Thank you. I'm glad you've enjoyed the class. Jagat, thank you very much. Have a great week, everyone. And yeah, I'll stick around if you have any questions. Hey, Mia, thank you. Hey, thank you, Raphael. Yeah, I try. Now, whether or not it works, who knows? But I enjoy it, so that's good. And I'm still messing with the background here a little bit. I got to get a different hat to put there. That hat disappears. As a matter of fact, take it down to remind me I got to put a different hat up there. All right, everyone. Well, things look pretty quiet, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, and we'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.